The first time I heard woke, I thought it was something positive, that you were awake to what was happening and that you were fighting the white male capitalist who had the whole world set up for himself. And you were gonna be the activist who brought the whole system down.
Amala, interview take 1.
My name is Amala Ekpunobi. I live in LA and I work for PragerU. At this point in the 2020s, woke is everywhere. On billboards, in entertainment, in sports, on our clothes, in our schools, and in our businesses. And I kept wondering, how did this happen? We all feel it, and the feeling isn't a good one. As someone who was once on the far left, I worry that wokeism is ripping our country apart. At PragerU, we have a slogan: don't just complain, do something. So I began asking questions. Where did wokeism come from? Is woke here to stay? And are there alternatives to wokeism? So began what would become a journey across the United States to try to find those answers. And perhaps, in finding those answers, we'll find a way to end wokeism once and for all. So much of the talk around woke seems to be just that, talk. At the end of the day, nothing will change if those of us who disagree with wokeism don't take action ourselves. But to understand what can be done about it, we need to understand the world in which it originated. My first stop was to talk to the man who literally wrote the book on woke. Here we are in Columbus, Ohio. The first questions: what is wokeism? And where did it come from? Hi, Vivek.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Meet Vivek Ramaswamy. He recently founded Strive Asset Management, an investment management firm that's challenging industry titans like BlackRock and Vanguard. He's doing it the old-fashioned way, focusing his investment decisions on excellence over politics. But before Strive, he founded a multi-billion-dollar biotech company called Roivant Sciences. They were literally working to cure cancer. Until, at the height of Black Lives Matter, his board and employees demanded Vivek speak out in full support of the organization and the movement. And he couldn't do it with a clear conscience.
But I stepped down as CEO.
So he left the company that he created. Because of this experience, Vivek wrote a book you might have heard of, called Woke Inc. Wrote a book called Woke Inc. I think a lot of people are going to hear that and go, what's woke? Mm-hmm. So Vivek, what's woke?
Yeah, wokeness refers to being alert to invisible injustices perpetuated against disempowered classes of people, generally defined on genetically inherited characteristics like race, gender, and sexual orientation. Basically, it borrows from the tropes of Marxism, which was this oppressor-oppressed narrative. But wokeism was not just Marxism, it was the merger of Marxism with identity politics. The idea that you are nothing more and nothing less than the genetic stock that you inherit on the day you're born. So that's what you sort of refer to as the trend of modern wokeness.
Okay.
Now, this is a fringe philosophy. I mean, this was a theory from the halls of academia, and it was a challenge to the system. It was an interesting set of ideas. Does it mean it was all coherent? No, not necessarily. But it was interesting. It was provocative. It was a different way of looking at human relations. It was an interesting worldview in some classroom at some liberal arts university somewhere. Mm-hmm. But wokeness at some point moved from being about being a challenge to the system to becoming the system. So to really understand the origin story of wokeism, you have to understand academia first. That's where it was born. It was born as an infant there, became an adolescent somewhere else, but let's start with the infancy. That's where it began.
At the end of the day, the rise of wokeism wasn't an overnight phenomenon. It's actually been in the works for years. So like many bad ideas, wokeism started in academia. But why? And why didn't it stay in the ivory tower? How did this cancer infect every other area of society? I needed to talk to somebody who understood academia and from a long-term, multifaceted perspective. And so I traveled to Washington, D.C. to talk to a visionary who did something many people consider to be impossible. He founded a new college that now rivals the Ivy League. This is Michael Ferris. He started Patrick Henry College, a classical liberal arts college just outside of Washington, D.C. In only 20 years of the college's existence, Patrick Henry graduates have become leaders in the highest halls of power, including Congress, Hollywood, and the White House. And this sort of cultural impact was by design. Ferris has been fighting wokeism before it was even called wokeism. And more importantly, he's been winning.
And I dare anyone to read my legal analysis.
Through Patrick Henry College, Mike is taking the battle against woke to the source by educating new generations of students in a rigorous, truth-focused education. Where do you think wokeness started? What's your theory there?
Where I was seeing it mostly was in the schools of education. They were teaching there is no truth, but what they meant is we're going to undermine the objective truth that you believe in and pretend that all truth is relative. And we're going to follow that up eventually with our truth. And that idea is now we're going to jam our truth down your throat and you better kneel. You raise a generation that's told at the university that nobody can disagree with you. You take that attitude to campus, you think that's the way the whole world should be like, and that's what you believe, that's the way you were trained. And you will not be a friend of truth, you will not be a friend of freedom, you're going to be a friend of repressing anybody who doesn't follow the party line. The tyranny that's in place today believes that the heart, soul, and mind of man belongs to government. And that mantra has been taken up by big corporations and social media giants and so on. And that totalitarian impulse is the opposite of liberty or progressivism or anything, any of the traditional meanings of those terms. Our country was a liberal democracy. We're fast becoming a totalitarian, bureaucratically run country, not a democracy and not a republic.
We need to walk, we need to march, we need to shout.
Transgender rights are one of the most important civil rights movements of our lifetime.
We can enact change in this country.
So you teach a generation that truth is subjective and ever evolving. You brainwash them to accept no alternative viewpoints. It's the woke way or no way. And then you release them into every industry of our society. Perhaps the most pernicious infiltration? The indoctrination tool for the masses, entertainment. For years, everyday Americans have complained about woke Hollywood. But we're not here to complain. We want to create alternatives. So I decided to talk to a man who is doing just that, creating an alternative to Hollywood and multiple other industries.
One type of woman gets to express her opinions and her views. That is not... Oh my God!
Wait, that's not the man we're talking about. That is. Meet Jeremy Boring. Jeremy is the co-founder of a media and entertainment company called The Daily Wire. They push buttons, they tell the truth, and they're working every day to create both news and entertainment that is free from liberal bias.
In many ways, big media has become just a propaganda arm of the left, and Daily Wire wanted to correct that.
Welcome back to the comments.
We've produced written articles, news articles, we've produced podcasts. We're the 5th largest podcast publisher in the world. But beyond the Daily Wire, we've expanded into something we're calling Daily Wire Plus. And it's really a broader cultural entertainment play. We're making movies, we're making television shows, we're making kids entertainment, which I think is probably the most important fight we will ever take on.
They've also started making some pretty awesome products that offer an alternative to woke companies and other industries as well.
Jeremy's Razors is a consumer goods alternative to companies like Gillette and Harry's Razors, who have all publicly embraced the LGBT agenda. And not just the LGBT agenda, the radical gender theory being pushed on children. Daily Wire Plus, 1 million plus paying subscribers right now. At Jeremy's Razors, we have sold over 100,000 razor subscriptions. I think all of that is because the half of the country that up until now has been divided by nothing, they've had no alternatives whatsoever, are eager and hungry to engage with those alternatives when they're presented, especially if we're not exploiting them, if we're actually providing value to them, then I think that there's enormous opportunity to succeed.
Hollywood going woke was pretty easy to see coming. But what happened next, no one expected. Sports went woke. See that guy standing while everyone else is kneeling? That's Johnathan Isaac. plays for the Orlando Magic in the NBA. He also happened to be one of the few NBA players who publicly expressed discomfort with supporting the Black Lives Matter movement. This all came to a head when the players on his team decided to collectively kneel during the national anthem. So he did what he felt was right. He stood. Now, Johnathan is launching his own apparel company called UNWOKENESS in hopes of bringing people together over love of God and country.
UNWOKENESS is a sports and apparel company, and the basis of it for me is freedom. You have companies that are in that field who have made a conscious decision to either attack or undermine Christian values, conservative values and things like that. And I think that they have the free choice to do so, as much as I disagree. But I feel that we also have a freedom to create what we want to create.
Left to right, show me what you moving like. Ooh, feeling right, keep it moving side to side.
The hope is to be able to sign athletes across all different sports and to create a real infrastructure of people who are in the sports world, moms and dads who want to buy their kids sneakers and clothes, but want to give their money to a company that they know is going to work towards bolstering their values.
Ooh, ready to go, up in the way, moving the tide, starting the way.
We can be proud of what we believe in. We don't have to hide or be ashamed of it. As the day continues to get, darker and darker and crazier, you standing up for what you believe in is only going to get harder, but is only going to become more and more necessary.
Roll the dice, oh, you wanna try. Ooh, left to right, hey, it's time to slide. Hey, one time, hey, two times, hey, oh my, keep it moving side to side.
But it didn't end in sports. We all know the story. It felt like the flip of a switch. Like every company in America was suddenly spouting the woke orthodoxy, and anyone who disagreed with them was ousted, condemned, and silenced. A perfect example? Amanda Ensing.
People love to complain about the culture and the environment, but they don't do anything. We need to be creating our own verticals and our own industries where we're competing.
This is Amanda Ensing. She's an entrepreneur, a beauty influencer, and a general badass boss lady. She started out beauty influencing with sponsorships from Sephora and other huge makeup brands. But when armchair critics started criticizing Amanda for stating her personal political beliefs, Sephora immediately canceled her sponsorships and went so far as to publicly condemn Amanda.
So for me, I was like, you know what? The beauty industry is in shambles. It only caters to one party, one set of views. Let's create my own brand. Our first launch sold out within like a day or two. I couldn't believe it. I was just like, what? And just seeing how much women wanted this, I was like, wow. And I was scared. It's terrifying putting your story out there. And when you get canceled, and with all of these people now coming for me, it's scary at first to take that first leap. But once you do, you just don't stop. The alternative to people not creating these businesses is way worse than if you would take that leap of faith. Because I don't think a lot of people realize how willing Americans are to support you. Like, we are desperate for new brands and new companies.
America needs alternatives. Oh, and if you haven't already guessed, every single one of the people we interviewed is a perfect example of not just what fighting back looks like, but what winning looks like.
Well, I'll give you one of the insights from my investing days. It's a famous quote from Warren Buffett. Be brave where others are fearful. There is an economic opportunity. I think it might be one of the biggest economic opportunities of the next decade to serve the 100 million plus Americans, who are badly disaffected from the places where they work, where they shop, where they bank, where they invest. These are also, from an economic standpoint, some of the best customers that any business could want. That is an economic opportunity. It might be the economic opportunity of our generation. One person can't do everything, but each person can look themselves in the mirror and ask, how am I going to have my own unique contributions? For me, it's in the financial institutions, in the asset management industry, and in capital markets. Somebody else might be starting a consumer products company. Somebody else might be starting a new university. Somebody else might be starting a new mode or new approach to entertainment. Each of us is making our own unique contributions. And I'm pretty optimistic that together, it's a mosaic that drives that change through true diversity, that dilutes the church of diversity to irrelevance.
Over the last few years, we've seen woke activists try to infiltrate every area of society: education, entertainment and media, sports, and business. And for many of us, that seems daunting. But talking with people like Vivek Ramaswamy, Mike Ferris, Jeremy Boring, Johnathan Isaac, and Amanda Ensing, we have proof that you can push back and make a cultural impact by providing alternatives. We know we're not going to change everybody's mind on these issues, and that's okay. The goal is to create a society where even if nobody's mind changed, we can all live together in a pluralistic, prosperous, civil United States. And I want to invite you on that journey. Together, we can fight wokeism in academia, in the culture, in business. But it's not just about conservatives making alternatives for other conservatives. We need more people creating just flat-out good products, media, education, you name it. We need alternatives that are good for society and good for America. I'm ready to try. How about you? Thanks for watching this short documentary. Corporate wokeism is plaguing America, but as you just learned, there are lots of opportunities to fight back and win. For starters, please spread awareness by sharing this video. And most importantly, please sign the pledge to fight corporate wokeism and support unwoke alternatives. Together, we can create a parallel economy that has the power to save America. Take the pledge now.